In this video, we're going to look at the structure and function of the small intestine, which is the largest part of the digestive system or alimentary canal in terms of length. As you can see, it's about 4.5 to 6 meters long, and it's divided into 3 sections. The first section is the duodenum, which is the shortest section, which is where a lot of the digestion occurs. The jejunum is the middle section, and the ileum, the last section, where it carries the undigestible materials from the small intestine into the large intestine. The walls of the small intestine are highly folded and have many specialized processes to increase surface area for absorption. These include the circular folds, as well as the villi and microvilli that line the small intestine. Here you can see the villi. The villi are finger-like projections from the wall of the small intestine, and they contain blood vessels and lacteals, which are the special lymphatic capillaries for absorbing lipids and carrying them to the bloodstream. The blood vessels, the capillary network, is for absorbing other nutrients from the digestive system into the blood and being transported through the body. There are also goblet cells, which we know produce mucus, intestinal glands which produce the various digestive juices and enzymes we'll talk about here in just a moment. So as far as the secretions of the small intestine, there are several enzymes that are produced by the small intestine, including peptidase, which is an enzyme that breaks down peptides or proteins into amino acids. There are 3 enzymes that break down various sugars. Sucrase breaks down sucrose, which is table sugar. Maltase and lactase break down other sugars. Lactase is the enzyme that breaks down the sugar in milk, lactose. Many people, especially as they become adults, stop producing lactase in significant quantities and they become lactose intolerant. So when they don't break down the lactose, the bacteria that live in their intestine can break it down and they produce gas, which causes a lot of the discomfort and the other problems associated with lactose intolerant. So these break down sugars. Lipases break down fats into fatty acids and glycerol. Enterokinase is a specific enzyme for converting one inactive enzyme, trypsinogen, into the active form trypsin, which is another enzyme that breaks down protein. Somatostatin is a hormone that inhibits the acid secretions by the stomach. So as the food leaves the stomach, enters the small intestine, you don't want the stomach to continue producing excess acid, as that could cause problems like ulcers and other problems with the stomach. CCK, another hormone that inhibits gastric glands, but also causes the pancreas to release its enzymes and the gallbladder to release bile. We'll talk about those structures when we talk about the accessory structures here in the next video. And secretin is another hormone that causes the pancreas to release bicarbonate ions. And that's important because as the food leaves the stomach and goes into the small intestines, it has a very low pH, somewhere between the range of 1 and 3. And the enzymes that work well in the stomach, they work well at that low pH. But the enzymes in the small intestine, they work better at a slightly basic pH. So we need to neutralize some of that acid and raise the pH, and the bicarbonate ions do just that. So besides digesting the food, which happens, like I said, primarily in the duodenum, the jejunum and ileum are the sites of a lot of absorption of nutrients from the digestive tract into the blood, or with the fats into the lacteals in the lymphatic system. So monosaccharides, sugars, and amino acids, proteins, are absorbed through facilitated diffusion and active transport from the wall of the small intestine into the blood. Electrolytes, water, they travel through diffusion, water through osmosis. There's also some active transport, and again, they're going to be absorbed straight into the blood. And like I said, fatty acids, glycerol, several steps, goes from the small intestine to the lacteals, through the lymphatic system, and eventually into the blood, where all the nutrients can be transported to various parts of the body for storage or for use by the cells and organs and structures in our body. So how does the food move through this long section? Well, there's several ways in which food moves through the small intestine. There are mixing movements where that happens primarily in the duodenum, where the food, the chyme coming out of the stomach, mixes with the enzymes from the small intestine along with the bile from the liver and gallbladder and the pancreatic juices from the pancreas to aid in digestion and getting those nutrients digested, broken down to where they can be absorbed later on. Peristalsis, we talked about earlier, is a wave-like contraction that pushes the food along the length of the small intestine. And segmentation, which are ring-like contractions, which play a role in the mixing of the food with the acid or with the enzymes and other structures, other enzymes, the different juices for helping to digest the food in the small intestine. Sometimes, if the walls of the small intestine get over distended, this can trigger a very rapid peristalsis in the small intestine, but also in the large intestine, where, especially in the large intestine, not enough of the water gets absorbed and we get